Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm Magneto, Derek Lemaster.
What the fuck?
I love me some magnets, man. That's all I got.
Oh, gosh.
So Scream Bloody Movies, a podcast where we review a horror movie each week. Go over the horror news, and Derek blows up the intro by saying some stupid shit like he's Magneto.
And I'm Magneto.
How are you guys doing today? Sir Ian, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm magnificent. Thank you for asking.
Well, I feel the polar opposite of you. Actually, Lydia does. How are you doing, Lydia?
Awful.
Yeah.
Super sick today, so I don't know what happened, but my voice is going to be probably giving out in a little while.
It'll be fine. You know what? You might be left speechless with tonight's film. Go through it. Because tonight we are, of course, talking about the Chuck Norris movie from 1994.
Classic film.
If you say so, I say film with a question mark. Hellbound. So we will be getting into that.
That's where you're going for that comment.
I'm Hellbound? Maybe. You might be correct. That's not what I felt like while I was watching it. But before we get into that, we got to hit up the horror news. James Cameron has teased a new top secret Terminator project. He says he's working on his own Terminator stuff right now. It's totally classified. I don't want to have to send out a potentially dangerous robotic agent if you were to talk to anybody about it, even retroactively. But we don't know what this could be. It could be a new movie, a comic book, video game, anything. What do you think about James Cameron working on new Terminator? So, Derek, you were saying a Max show.
Yeah, I would be totally down for a Max Terminator series. Because you could go, really lean into some of the episodes being like a hard R. And you could do a lot of good stuff with that. I don't know if it'll happen, but HBO Max.
What do you think, Lydia?
Yeah, I think that would be super fun to, dive into the world a little bit more and, have multiple episodes that you could really get immersed in. But I was going to ask, who did the last Terminator movie? Because I never saw that one.
It was...
Linda Hamilton.
Who did direct that? It's Terminator Dark Fate.
Yeah.
It was directed by... Tim Miller. That's who I thought did it. Tim Miller directed it, and then James Cameron was Excuse me. James Cameron was like a producer on it. It wasn't the best. It's my least favorite Terminator movie. And Genesis is on the table even. And I kind of like parts of Genesis more than Dark Fate. I didn't care for either of the last two. But up until then, I found some stuff to love in every Terminator movie, First one's great. We'll do it on the podcast. The second one is one of the best action films ever made. The third one, time has been incredibly kind to. It's super fun. And then Terminator Salvation, I think, is pretty solid, too. When would you guys set this?
That's a great question.
Would you be in the future? The future war? Or would it be
I would have
past dealing with Terminators?
I would have flashbacks. I would do a mixture of the two.
Because you'd have to come up with a, concept. The Sarah Connor Chronicles was really good.
It was.
I really liked it. Yeah.
Its biggest, in my opinion, one of the biggest drawbacks to that TV show was it couldn't lean more into the, action. But it was great. Yeah. I loved it. I thought the actors that they had to play the characters were great. I would have loved to have married one of them.
Yeah. But so that's interesting.
Still here.
This news is really good. Actually, I was talking to Derek about this earlier. Nightmare on Elm Street is coming onto 4K. We're getting a 4K release of the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Coming on to 4K Blu-ray and digital. And I already pre-ordered this damn thing. Because it comes in two things. It comes in the standard and steelbook. But it has a brand new 4K transfer. It comes with the uncut, which has about 8 seconds more footage. And it has a ton of special features. Looks like some classic special features on it. But guys, I got to show you this. This is the one I pre-ordered. It is the... so here's the regular cover. It's all right, right? I mean, it's just kind of... What do you think of that cover? That's the regular one.
Classic.
Yeah. But I ordered this VHS steelbook.
Nice.
What do you think of that?
I love the scratch marks.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
What do you think, Derek?
Looks good.
With the little horror logo here and, Warner Home Video? Yeah. But it is coming out in October. October 15th, I do believe. Yeah, October 15th on the disc, October 1st on digital. So, finally, Freddy's entering the 4K. That's the first Nightmare on Elm Street news we've actually had, like concrete, something new in a long, long time. So hopefully this is the start of some shit. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Also, here's the other... This news is kind of crazy. We're not getting one, but 2 new Halloween games are in the works. Yes. And one of them is a big console title made with the Unreal Engine 5, produced and shepherded by John Carpenter.
Whoa.
He says, as a huge gamer myself, I'm thrilled to help bring Michael Myers to life again in this game. And my hope is to scare you silly. So, it says it'll allow players to relive moments from the film and play as classic characters from one of the most iconic and important horror films of all time. So there's 2 games. That's the big one, right? But we actually got a trailer. So we actually have footage and information on the other one. It is a 16-bit game that's being released alongside a 16-bit arcade game of Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Whoa.
So you get both. I'm going to show you screenshots of both. You get both of these. And I'm 100% going to buy these. You know I will. But check this out. So here's the gameplay of the Ash vs. Evil Dead one. It's Halloween. And then if you get both games, you can cross the 2 games over.
What?
Yeah, so there's Ash at the Myers house. There's Michael Myers at the Evil Dead cabin. In the Ash vs. Evil Dead game, you play, of course, as Ash. And then in the Halloween game, you play as Michael Myers. And then if you the pre-order, you get Laurie Strode and Kelly Maxwell. There it is.
That's insane.
What do you guys think of this?
That's
I wish I had
awesome.
money, man. This is ridiculous.
This is the digital copy has both of them is going to be $50. You can buy them each separately online for $24, and you can buy this big bundle that has the game, this little arcade box, the steelbook, this Michael Myers plush, Michael Myers emblem pin, Michael Myers art print, these cards, and these coins for $100.
Whoa.
But the gameplay, let's see if we can see any of it. Tell me if you guys can see this.
Oh.
Can you see this?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You can even hear some
Okay,
of
so
it.
Yeah, we heard it a little bit there too. Oh my gosh.
So check this out. Yeah, I think
That
it
is
looks
really
like a lot of fun. I love that kind of the retro style. And then, so that's one of two games. The other one's going to be a more PS5 graphic, Unreal Engine 5 built horror game.
That
I don't know
also
if you play
sounds
as Michael
really cool.
Myers. I don't know what it's about. We don't know if it's like, the Evil Dead game, or if it's an online multi. We don't know anything yet. But I'm guessing I'm betting it's story driven because of John Carpenter's involvement. So
That's crazy.
I know. That's great. So we're getting some Halloween news and some Friday or Nightmare news. We haven't got any new Friday news except that they have a fucking logo in some pens. It's kind of where we are.
they're at, man.
Yep. And then last but not least, I saved the biggest news for last, guys. Oh, I don't know if you guys are ready for this. Are you ready?
Bring it on. I'm ready.
James Wan is in talks to direct a Creature from the Black Lagoon movie for Universal.
Oh. That's my guy right there.
That's our guy. Yeah. And we were just talking about how Creature is due a remake when we reviewed it earlier this month, or this year, I mean.
Yeah, so what it is he's watching the podcast. It's been confirmed.
Clearly, yep.
He's
the only
dropping the
explanation.
the hints, the little breadcrumbs. He's a fan.
What do you guys?
He's one of our peeps.
He's one of our peeps. This is amazing, right?
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
That's the only
can't
news we
wait.
have on it. No other news. But if we got robbed of the John Carpenter directed Creature from the Black Lagoon, the least we can have is a James Wan directed Creature from the Black Lagoon, right? The universe owes us that. They took John Carpenter's Creature from us. They need to give us James Wan's Creature. I'll be first in line to see that one.
Yep.
I mean, I'd be first in line to see any James Wan movie, to be fair, but that one, that'd be really cool. All right, guys, and that wraps up the horror news. So picture it. It's 1994. You're perusing through your local video haunt, Video West probably for Derek and I, and you're looking for a movie to rent. You're like, kind of in the mood for something scary, but maybe I could do some action. And then you stumble upon it. You see the glorious picture. Chuck Norris's face holding a shotgun with kind of a mullet, and it says Hellbound. And you're spellbound by that cover. So you rent it expecting to see some crazy action movie, and instead you get 1994's Hellbound, which we're about to talk about.
No. Jamie, you just did a great disservice, because this movie, let me tell you what, if you're an 11-year-old kid and you are watching this movie and you grew up in the 90s, Chuck Norris was the man back then. This was everything, man. This took me back. You're going to ask me when I watched this for the first time, probably when I was like 11. It was wonderful. I loved it.
Lydia.
Anyway, Lydia, what's that?
Have you ever seen this movie before? Or heard of this movie?
I've never seen or heard of this movie before.
Yes. You know why you haven't? Because it was a direct-to-video release by Canon Films. Actually, fun fact, this was Canon Films' last movie released before filing for bankruptcy. Not a great omen. Also, this movie was shot in 1992, and it sat in the shelf for 2 years before being released.
I had a feeling that was
Interesting. I did
going
not know
to be
that.
something like that.
Well, you can kind of tell. You
You can really tell, yeah, for some reason. I mean, it's just like right on the 80s border right there.
It's
with
too
all
far.
the-
It was too
with
much
all the,
towards the 80s than the
shoulder
90s.
pads.
Yeah, so if not by 94, we're in kind of, Tarantino era. We're kind of moving away from the 80s, more into the 90s. Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of the 90s, I think of triangles and bright colors. Kind of getting into that. Protractors. So yeah, this was shot in '92. Those are Trapper Keepers, all the classic '90s.
Oh my
Um,
God.
but this movie was
So
filmed in '92.
I was 1 year old when this came out.
Yeah,
I was 11.
this is not. I was 8. This is not my first time seeing this. I remember my stepdad renting it one night, and as I didn't remember a lot of it, as I started watching it, a lot of it started coming back to me because there's not a lot of memorable stuff that happens, but there's certain things I did recall. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, I remember this. But as a kid, this would have been my kind of jam, horror combined with action. The problem is, for me personally, we'll get into why I have a problem with it. But I don't want to give it away here at the beginning of the show, so we'll actually start getting into this story here. So we open on in the Middle East. By the way, this entire movie was filmed in Israel. It was filmed in Israel. Yes. It was filmed, shot entirely in Israel between May and August of '92, and the second half of the movie was filmed in Jerusalem. That's one of the nuggets of. There's not a lot of trivia on this movie because I don't think people dug too hard into it, but these are the things I found.
It's interesting because they are in those places in the movie, so it's. But usually you do that kind of thing on a set.
Yeah, they actually filmed this in Israel, but the Chicago stuff was a stand-in Chicago, which you could totally tell. But this movie opens with the Dark Ages, and we get a whole during the Crusades, essentially during the Crusades, and we get a whole opening. What do you guys think of this opening bit? I mean, besides, of course, being low budget, so there's not a lot of extras, and it looks kind of janky. The whole movie looks kind of janky.
I'm gonna go a little bit on the opposite of that. So I imagine that the budget for this movie was not huge, right?
I don't think we have a budget. We don't have a known budget for this, but I would reckon not.
Yeah. I mean, for not having CGI, I thought the opening scene was fine. I mean, you didn't need a whole bunch because that group of knights were on their way to save the prince who was kidnapped and about to be sacrificed. So you don't need an army necessarily.
Listen to Derek Cope. Listen to him. Listen to the fucking Norris Cope. He's going for. Actually, I think it was shot wonderfully. It looks like it was shot
wonderfully. But for I'm sure a small budget in 1994, I thought the opening,
1992, Derek. 1992 is when they filmed it.
You know what? That's when it came out, so that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I guess maybe, having the perspective of seeing it, when it came out or something would be a little different. I find these movies just fascinating on multiple levels. Watching it in this day and age is really just something else. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. The opening's fine, except that it kind of, my biggest problem with the opening is it kind of promises you more than you get. Especially the opening crawl, you get talking about the knights coming through, and we see that, and it's fine. It's kind of reminds me of the direct-to-video Puppet Master sequels. You know what I mean? That kind of quality. You're okay, it's a low budget direct-to-video movie. It is what it is. But the actual opening scene, we're promised we're going to get some kind of good action and stuff throughout the movie, which is just not the case. So we get set up with this villain's going to rule the world, but it's kind of not greatly presented to us. It's kind of unclear as to what he's going to do. I mean, if he gets the royal blood, so he has to dip the dagger in royal blood in order to like bring about the apocalypse. Essentially, them's the stakes, but it just kind of doesn't feel like the stakes throughout the movie. And where you have a MacGuffin that we're chasing, this staff that the king chops up, and that one monk's like, "No, my lord, don't chop up my fucking guy." And because he wants to hide it, it's like the Lord of the Rings. You hide it.
And that was the outside of, and maybe they didn't know, because otherwise, why wouldn't they just have stabbed him with that staff?
Yeah, that's a pretty big plot hole.
Know that.
Correct.
Yeah, maybe they didn't know that, but
I find that hard to believe if the Walker Texas Ranger lady just knows it. I'm sure that the knights during the period should know it.
But either way, outside of that, knowing you could kill him with it, like that's the next best thing, is to chop it up and send it across the world. Like that would be the smart play.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Like, that could be cool if we were having like some sort of fetch quest with him. But when we meet our villain, because so we have the cold open, we have that opening, and then we have like just a scene in like the 50s where these people stumble upon the grave, and we've got to talk about the villain first. What do you guys think of this villain, and especially his hair?
I thought the actor did an okay job in most of it. I feel like, but the hair, man, that hair. It was also 1994.
1992, actually.
I'm just saying it came out.
Prastanos is the villain's name. Prastanos. What'd you think, Lydia?
I liked him, honestly. I think the contacts did a lot for me. They really creeped me out.
They're kind of cool. Yeah.
Gave him like cat eyes or like multi. Like,
yeah.
It was
multi eyes or something.
Yeah, and like I have to say I had a fun time watching this because me and Jake were pretty much just laughing the entire time.
Yeah, it's Mystery Science Theater level.
But
a lot of
yeah, definitely. And when he saw that guy, he was like, "That's the bad guy." He's like, "That hair." He just was laughing at his hair the whole time.
Yeah, I think the actor is pretty decent too. I think he does a good job. But that hair is it's something else. It's at another level. It's like bald but long.
Yeah.
He's got a skullet like Reggie.
Yeah.
It's just an awkward look. But when he gets resurrected by the wandering people that pull the knives out of the tomb, I was like, this movie doesn't take place in the 50s. Why is he being resurrected? And then I remembered, because we're going to do another time jump to modern day Chicago, where we meet our heroes, which is Chuck Norris as Sergeant Frank Shatter, and Calvin Levels as Detective Calvin Jackson. They just used his first name.
Yeah, why not? Why
we actually
the actor?
Yeah,
we had a hard time figuring out who was Frank.
Frank is Shatter. Yeah.
Yes, we had such a hard time putting that together.
Yeah. So, you guys know, of course, Shatter's played by Chuck Norris, obviously, and then Calvin Levels is from one of our favorite movies, Lydia. Adventures in Babysitting.
Yes, the best.
He's the best. He's the best guy in that. Like, loves the kids and protects them.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
Yeah, and he's a totally different character too. He's way laid back in that one.
Yeah, in this one he's big, and he's actually the most fun to watch in the movie because he kind of overacts, but Chuck Norris underacts.
Yeah,
Chuck Norris underacts. So together they kind of close themselves up.
Can't act. Although I will say, objectively, key. I thought that I thought that they played well together. I liked their camaraderie, but Chuck Norris is just a fucking terrible actor. But
He
for
is
what
not
he
good.
is, but for what he is, I felt like those two really did well together. As a
No,
as like
I think they're fine
buddy cop.
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Their opening scene, you kind of get what they were trying to go for. Like they wanted to kind of make it like, I think they were trying to make this Chuck Norris's like golden child. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or close, or Big Trouble. I think they're Big Trouble in Little China. I think they're trying to get that kind of vibe going on, or like 48 Hours mixed with Supernatural.
yes,
So they try to lean into that, and they do an okay job for a lot of it. Their chemistry's fine. They're okay together. I think they're pretty good together. Just Chuck Norris is, like you said, Derek, here's the thing about Chuck Norris. He's literally like, we think of him, he's like this meme of being a badass and everything because he was a great karate champion, and he had some good movies in the 80s. But here, Chuck Norris is a charisma vacuum. So you know how Jean-Claude Van Damme, even though in his early roles wasn't the best actor, but he was super charismatic, and you kind of couldn't take your eyes off of him. You're like, man, this guy just has a vibe. Chuck Norris is the opposite of that. Like, he sucks all of those vibes into a black hole.
He's the dark. I give him way too much credit for this. He's the Dark Thunder.
I don't think there's any thunder to Chuck in this one. He's more like the dark light rain, if anything. Like, it's like he's just like a
dark
opposite.
light rain.
Yeah, because it's like he's a dark sprinkle, as you were. Like, he just doesn't have charisma, and there's a couple of scenes where he's fine-ish throughout the movie, and he looks cool in some scenes, but like he has no charm about him. Like, he's just so charmless. Cracks me up that he's a leading man.
yeah. I couldn't tell if it was like the directing and the editing that really it didn't do him any favors at all.
This movie is directed by his brother, Aaron Norris, which a lot of his films were. But yeah, the way it's shot there's a couple of moments where they give him like some cool close-ups or whatever. And like I said, there's a couple of moments between he and Calvin Levels that are pretty fun and pretty good. I think the stuff with him in the car is passable. I think some of their banter is. I think when he's like does the bit where the kid steals his money and he gets him on the roof.
Yeah, I love that little like side story.
Well, and when he pulls when he puts the dollar bill back, when he puts the money back in his pocket, and he's like, y'all, sorry you lost your money. That's funny, but it's just that, yeah, he's not very charismatic.
It's weird. It's a weird thing. It's like
that whole thing. We're going to talk about that. Derek, you like that side story? Because I think it's atrocious. Because there's no purpose to the plot, and it comes at like
it absolutely
the halfway point, and it comes at the halfway point of the film.
Yeah, I know, but just think of how much worse this movie would have been if it didn't have it in there. It's a crucial plot to the story.
The movie might have been shorter, to be honest.
It definitely would have been shorter.
Because here's the
thing. I liked it. I thought it was fun.
Lydia, what do you think about that little side quest with the pickpocket?
I don't mind it, but it is like you said. Like, I mean, I felt like they were trying to do like a short round character,
mm-hmm.
and that's fine. I'm like, whatever. But it's yeah, like his charisma is so strange because he doesn't like actually like seem to have a bond with anyone. Like, even when he's like pranking his partner, it's like it comes off kind of one-sided a little bit.
Lydia, I'm genuinely curious. Have you ever seen a movie with Chuck Norris in it?
No. And that is
because he plays the same fucking character in every goddamn movie.
And I believe it.
There's no depth. There's no depth.
It just seems like, I don't even know. It's just such a thing you had to like be there for, I was like, is he just playing Walker Texas Ranger?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, I was like, I think you really had to be there and be like a Chuck Norris fan to like get this movie.
So,
100%. You had to be an 11-year-old kid.
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
time Shatter, which by the way, fucking his name being Frank Shatter is amazing.
Dude,
Like
that is
Zabdower, you know what I mean? Like,
that's
it's just
like
one of those
such a disgusting sounding name to me.
Frank Shatter. But
Like he just shattered his
He'll
pants.
shatter your bones.
so
with
at
his-
the opening, when they
Shattered
when we find the villain in the hotel room with the woman, and we that whole scene, that woman, the actress, has got to be the worst actor I have ever seen in the history of my life.
And that says something, as we've already covered. No, she's not great.
Dude, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, they kept this taken? She's like, are you coming to see me? I'm really having fun. And I'm like, are you being held hostage? Like, right off camera? Was there a gun pointed at you? What are you doing? So funny. And then, of course, the fact that he rips out the one dude's heart and then throws her body and it lands on Chuck Norris's car, which was not moving. It just was there. Is hilarious.
Did not put a dent in it at all.
He's like, she's still alive. Call an ambulance and back up. And he runs upstairs. In his little one-liners, that's the thing. Like they try to give him one-liners. They're just not very good. Like he's like, if you let me live, or if you leave, I'll let you live. And he's like, you're all heart, buddy. And he's like, speaking of hearts, he throws a heart at him.
Yeah.
Who
It's like
the script?
Let's see. It was written by
Ian kid. No,
Ian Rabin, Anthony Ridio, and Brent V. Friedman. That's the story. The screenplay was written by Galen Thompson and Brent V. Friedman. There were four writers on this movie.
Huh. I feel like anyone could have written that in their sleep.
Yep.
You're all heart.
That's what Derek said, and that's what they came up with. So what doesn't make sense to me is
how calm he is when he gets his heart thrown at him.
Well, yeah. When he what doesn't make sense to me is and I talked to Derek about this a little bit earlier, is why they have to go to Israel. It's incredibly unclear to me.
Yeah.
They said because they wanted to talk to them. And that's what Derek said. He's like, hey, because he said they wanted to talk to him. It was like, a fucking phone call wouldn't have sufficed.
Yeah.
They had to travel clear to Israel, have a per diem, and then for some reason they just start investigating the case on their own while they're there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're warned not to.
Fiction.
They're warned not to. But, I combated that with, could you imagine what the but the long distance call would have been in 1994?
Probably a lot cheaper than the flight to Israel hotel rooms in per diem.
No, you're forgetting about the exchange rate, man. You're forgetting about that.
Well, you're forgetting about the Bulls tickets that he bought for his partner and he didn't even get to go.
I'm sure they sold them. I would have sold them.
Playoff tickets even.
Mm-hmm.
Playoff tickets. So this means that this was in 1992. That's why it makes more sense that he's so excited. So it's like, I mean, by 94 they were, in their run, 93, 94, or 90, 93, 90, or 94, 95, 96, when they won 3 back-to-back. But I was like, that's interesting that they're like, he's so excited. It's because it was the Bulls' first run, man. That makes sense. But so they're in Israel, and it's so funny because they meet the doctor woman who is very important because she randomly a princess, Leslie Hawkins. They they meet her to find out about like the rabbi stuff, and about like the history of it all. Then while they're in Israel, she luckily is standing right outside one of the buildings. Fancy seeing you here, eh? And her and Chuck Norris are immediately like all about each other. She sees him in that fucking awkward blue blazer that he was wearing, and she's like, I've got to get me some of that.
Yeah.
Look at that beard. That's what I would have said.
She says, look at that lack of charisma.
Yeah.
He feels like a vacuum of charisma.
So strange. So strange.
He's the silent, handsome type.
He's so stoic. No, he, yeah, so that she's there. And then here's my biggest problem with the movie, guys. Here it is. Through the whole middle section, nothing happens. I mean, we have a couple of bits with the villain, but our heroes really do literally nothing through the whole middle act of this movie.
They figure it all out. They put it together that he was in all the places where all the staff pieces were kept.
Derek, they figure that out in the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
literally. When he's like, oh, they need royal blood, and me and Jake both looking at each other and go, princess.
Yeah, he's calling her princess throughout the whole thing.
And then he calls her and does not ask her if she's a princess.
Actually, no, but for real, when he called her, I thought that was the epiphany that he had. Like,
yeah, because that's where the audience is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's like, hey, can you check his itinerary? Do you have his calendar handy?
Yeah. For the past 6 years. Yeah, oh, I have it right here. What?
Derek.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Derek.
What?
Was that you this time, Lydia?
No.
I genuinely did.
Oh, was that a phone?
I got a text message, but I didn't hear anything.
I hear it.
Yeah, I
Twice.
heard it that time. Derek.
Always. No, so
Nobody texts
there's a bit on the train which is really funny. Because we see the priests, and they have like they're transporting the real the piece or whatever, and he just appears and like in the foreground of the shot, I laughed out loud.
Dude, me and Jake did too.
I was so like, funny. Oh my god, it's so funny. And he's like, aha, you should hold on to your faith, no matter how pointless it is. And he kills him. And when he meets Shatter and Jackson for the first time, and he's just like is a complete dickhead to him, and she's like, "I told you he was eccentric." He's like, "He's not eccentric. He's an asshole." It's like, yeah. Why did you have to be so combative? Why didn't you just be helpful and say, "Oh yes, let me help you with this stuff, so I can throw you off my trail," instead of making you immediately suspicious of me. Great stuff. But yeah, that whole middle section, that's what I'm saying. Like, he meets the kid at like 45 minutes into the movie, and it's like halfway in, and you're like, okay. And
45. Or like 30.
Yeah, it was. No, it was like 45. I know, because I paused it. It was like, how much more of this movie is left? It was like 45 minutes. And, like, yeah, I mean, that stuff happens. Then there's... My biggest problem with movies, there's not enough action. There's, like, barely any action in it. We get a fight in a hotel room, which is a mediocre fight, even. It's not even, like, a great one. It's just him, like, throwing dudes over his shoulder and, like, kicking a couple of them. And you're like... And it's just two guys. That's the only action. And then, I guess a quote-unquote action scene would be when they chase after the kid after he steals Jackson's wallet. Then we get no action for the rest of it. No explosions, no fights, nothing. And then literally in the last 10 minutes, they put all of it together. Like the third act goes, and here's the thing about the third act: when they actually get in there to fight him, they do the same thing like 3 times. They go to her, he attacks him, they fight. They go to her, he attacks. It's like a fucking boss fight in a video game. Takes on his multiple forms. What do you guys say about this?
He evolved. No,
Lydia.
the fight scene is a bit repetitive, but you got Chuck Norris kicking the shit out of, I don't know. It's not really. Is it specifically said that he's the devil? I think he's just like
no.
demon character.
He's an ambassador to the devil, is what they say specifically in the movie.
There you
go. Ambassador to the devil.
He's so Chuck Norris just gets to kick the shit out of that guy. That's how he rolls.
Yeah, it was very boring. What do you think?
Who knew? He was an Olympic javelin thrower. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude, that was the best part. He throws that freaking spear like Thor.
He says, "Suck on this" or something dumb like that. What do you think of this end, like this whole fight scene, Lydia?
I don't know. I don't know what to think of it, honestly. I can't say that it was good, but I didn't hate it or anything. It was probably the most entertaining part of the movie, maybe.
Well, that's because the rest of it was nothing happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you just had the same, like you said, it's the same thing. It's just like, oh, he gets thrown, and then fighting over here, and then you get pushed over here, and then, yeah, it's just, I don't know.
All for her to be like, it's what he covets. That spear kills him. And he's like, no, I must get it from you. You're like, what? Come on, man.
Like, pretty easily defeated, honestly.
Yeah, really easily, to be fair. Like, none of them were bleeding. None of them were, like, sweating. Yeah, I'm disappointed with it because, I mean, in Chuck Norris movies, you at least get a couple of fun fights. They're never as well choreographed as Van Damme's fights are, because Van Damme has the acrobatics to do, like, the spinning heel kick and shit like that, or as, like, greatly paced as, like, an Arnold fight, where you get to see Arnold be big and strong and smash stuff. And also, Arnold, all the charisma in the world, has all of it. All of it landed on Arnold Schwarzenegger.
True.
And then some splashed down to JCVD, and then Chuck Norris was just standing there with none of it. He didn't
like the blandest piece of bread that has ever fought anybody.
But, so that's why I was disappointed in the ending, because
like he should have felt like out or something, Yeah,
I felt like the fight scenes were just the fight was boring. And all of the fight scenes were like just kind of like going through the motions. And not like, hey guys, we got to put a cool fight scene in here. And there's literally 3. There's the one where he punches the dude in the face at the beginning, the pimp. Then there's the one in the hotel room. And then there is the end one. And he only fires his gun twice in the hotel room. So there's just a total lack of action in this thing for me. What do you think of the end here, Derek?
I mean, you guys made a lot of valid points. He kicks the guy, he kicks the guy, he kicks the guy. And then he throws the spear and kills him. But, it totally worked for me.
At least it worked for somebody.
That could be nostalgia talking, for sure.
But, that's 100% nostalgia talking. What do you mean could be?
It was okay. It was nothing super special. It is what it is.
So, guys, the very end of this thing, in this airport,
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Lydia, tell me about it.
I
What are
mean,
you
like,
thinking?
but, I don't even know. I don't know what to say. It's so cheesy and weird to end on this note.
Cheesy for sure.
So cheesy. Like what? What did we just watch?
Yeah, it's like Short Round they just had to bring him back. Of course, Chuck Norris and the girl try to kiss like twice. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh
and they
yeah,
don't even
because they were
kiss.
smoldering.
Yeah, because she's a 12.
That's
Maybe their scale was out of 15. We don't know. They didn't say that.
No, he did. He said, "What do you give her out of 10?"
Out of
12?
10. And don't say 12, he said.
Yeah.
Well, I was stretching. You know what?
You're just bending over backwards trying to make points for this movie. You're trying so hard.
Got a lot of good points. I'm just saying.
Oh man, yeah, that ending is wildly cheesy. I was like, it ended, and I was like, I had to pick my eyes up from the back of my head because they rolled back so far. I was like,
Yeah.
Ridiculous, man.
It's the freeze frame is what makes it just too much, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, no.
Yeah.
And the fact that, how does this guy not feel his wallet being taken every time?
He's a trained professional.
Yep. Of course, Chuck Norris sees right through it. He's like,
Every
he just
time.
stole your wallet.
You missing something?
Yeah. And that was Hellbound. Derek, you get to go first since you picked this movie. What are you going to give old Hellbound?
Oh man, it's a tough one. So you struggle with. So here's the thing. I actually had fun watching this movie. I remember watching it when I was a kid. It was I was entertained. I liked it. Now, am I going to say that it was an actual good movie? No. If I'm being honest, it was not a great movie, but that was not the point. The point was to be entertained. And I'm going to give this movie a 6.5.
Okay. Good God. Lydia, what are you going to give this movie realistically?
I said last night as I was watching it, I was like, this movie's a solid 5. I don't think it's a terrible movie, but I don't think it's any kind of masterpiece. And I did have fun. The entertainment value was there. It was like a Chuck Norris history lesson.
Wait till the next Chuck Norris movie we watch, Lydia.
We're not going to do another one. That's the only horror movie. Don't worry.
No, there's another one.
Oh, there is one more. Actually, the other one is way better. Way better of a movie. Way better of a movie. I might pick it at some point. I'm going to give this guy an old 4.5 because it's not very good. And I don't think it's the worst made movie. Not from technical standpoint, I think it's fine. It's it's shot in 4:3 because it was, released on video and that sort of stuff. It's just, so I don't have a problem with any of that. I think it's technically sound. It doesn't it's not bad audio, video. It's just the story it's not there. It's just that when I remember being 10 years old, 9 years old when I saw this, and looking at that cover and saying, oh my God, Chuck Norris fighting monsters. And then this is the movie I got.
Mm-hmm.
And even as a child, I was disappointed because this wasn't that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get a couple of
I
Halloween
thought it was
masks.
Gonna be more of that too.
Yeah. Get a couple of Halloween masks here and there. Like when Prestados turns into the demon at the end and you're like, all right.
And it must have looked really bad because they showed it for like one
split
second flat.
Yes,
Yeah.
split second. Yeah. Well, we also see the other monster for like that same amount of time. They could afford 2 Halloween masks. But yeah, I don't think it's the worst. And I know I've been kind of ragging on Chuck Norris, but I think he's fine. He's not a good actor. He never has been. But he can be a presence if you give him the right movie. I was telling Derek earlier today that there's a ton of Chuck Norris movies that I really genuinely like. Derek!
Yeah.
Turn your texts off.
I don't know how that happens. I can't hear anything.
We hear it.
I'm sorry.
But,
I even put my do not disturb on. I'm sorry.
Like there are some Chuck Norris movies that that I really like. The Octagon, I really like, and I really like Missing in Action, and I like the Delta Force, and like Invasion USA, and Silent Rage. So I'm versed in Chuck Norris, and and Lone Wolf McQuade's fine, but it's just like this is not one of them. This is not one of them. This is on like fucking Top Dog level. So do not recommend Hellbound. It's not the best. All right, guys. Now it's time to Atkinize this movie.
Thrill me.
Who would Tom Atkins play? Frank Shatter.
Oh, yeah.
What? No, I wouldn't.
No. Lydia,
No.
Frank Shatter, right? Make this movie way more watchable.
The movie would be a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, but he ain't got the fighting
He
skills.
kissed the girl.
I mean, all those other things, but he doesn't have the fighting skills. I'll say that.
Derek, did you see the fight scenes in this movie? He 100% had the fight skills for these fight scenes.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Think he could fucking pull that off. Judo
Literally,
throwing?
with those sound effects.
Yeah, literally. Come on, fellas, let's go again.
Sounds pretty good.
That's a good impression.
Yeah, thank you. I do a mean Chuck Norris fighting impression. All right, so it's my turn to pick, gang.
Yes.
And you know what?
What?
Watching this movie got me in a certain mood. And I think the best way to follow up a movie like Hellbound is to go the step further. We've seen Chuck Norris now fight a demon. Now we're going to watch Arnold Schwarzenegger fight the devil. As we're going to watch End of Days.
Oh.
And there's going to be no comparison between the two of these films.
Hell yeah.
We're going to do it for real, Derek.
I've never seen this one either, I don't think.
Oh, you've never seen End of Days. End of Days is streaming, or it's not streaming. It's available on YouTube, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Google Play. Well, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Google Play Video, and Fandango at Home. I also own it on DVD, I do believe. I haven't upgraded this one to Blu-ray yet, but I do own it. What do you guys think of that?
Nice.
What do you think of that, Derek?
I'm ready to rock.
Hell yeah.
It rocks for sure. So, we're going to get into End of Days starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Gabriel Byrne.
Some charisma.
Oh, yeah. The Charisma Factory is back, baby. All right. Derek, you got a story for us?
I mean,
You know
You
what?
know what? This movie. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've got one if you need some time to think about one.
Here,
I don't know if I've told it.
Little backstory, but I want you to tell your story because I don't really have one. But I do think that this is fairly relevant to past stories. So, my brother was a huge Chuck Norris fan. Huge Chuck Norris fan. And I remember
Both metaphorically and physically.
Yeah, I remember going to the library and my brother like finding a book, and this was where you could like write to your celebrities and stuff like that. And a, a normal person would have done what? Rented the book, taken it home, and copied the addresses down, things like that. Not my brother. My brother was like, "Oh, I want this book. I'm just gonna stick it down my pants and walk out with it." So he stole the
The
book from the
library books
library.
are free.
Yeah, no, he stole the book from the library.
Wow.
I know.
Chuck Norris
Who
would
could have
not be a
thought?
fan of him.
Yeah, who could have thought where his life would end up?
I know. It's shocking, right? Did he write to Chuck Norris?
No, I don't think he actually ever wrote to Chuck Norris.
What's the point of even having the book?
So really, he just deprived another kid of being able to write to Chuck Norris. Or his letters.
Chuck Norris is like for boys, I feel like. Like
Yeah, he's
girls
100%.
did not care about Chuck Norris.
I don't know, Lydia. My mom loved. Actually, she loved all the actors. She loved Steven Seagal. She loved
Oh,
Van Damme. She loved.
my mom loved Van Damme, but Van Damme was quite the looker back in the day, and he was all muscly and shit.
Personally, I'm not attracted to any of them.
Yeah,
Our
but
mom
Chuck
so
Norris is the
sarcastic,
least,
you know.
right? besides
Yeah,
besides
definitely.
Steven Seagal, of course, because I mean,
Yeah, he's pretty low.
ugh, ugh.
At least Chuck
You know,
Norris
as
is
bad
like
as Chuck
slightly in
Norris
shape.
is, as bad as Chuck Norris is, he's still better than Steven Seagal.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
I think my
yeah.
grandpa liked Chuck Norris. I didn't
All
really get to know
old
my
people like
grandpa,
Chuck
but
Norris. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Chuck Norris. My dad liked Chuck Norris. My grandpa liked Chuck Norris. And I like Chuck Norris. I just don't like this movie. I've got a Chuck Norris story for you. I don't know if I've told it before, but I'm going to tell it again. On my when I was in third grade, I was having a birthday party. Well, my birthday was coming up, so I just assumed for no reason that I was having a birthday party that weekend. No reason. Mom didn't say we're having a birthday. I was supposed to be having a real birthday party later in the weekend with my cousins and stuff, but I just invited some friends from school over on my birthday. I told them we were gonna have a birthday party.
Oh.
So I was like, yeah, at me and Morecraft. I was like, told Zach about it, and Zach's like, hey, you should ask these two kids in our class, Philip and Zane. They were like the cool kids. And I remember being like, hey guys, we're gonna have a birthday. Guys want to come to my birthday party? It's just gonna be us hanging out, and we're gonna go to the movies, and we're gonna watch Batman Forever because Batman Forever would just come out. And they're like, yeah, I'll never forget this. I make fun of Morecraft to this day for it. And they say, yeah, and they bump fists. We're like, yeah, that'd be cool. And they give each other knuckles. And Morecraft, as we're walking away from the jungle gym where they were sitting, Zach goes, yeah, they're so cool. Did you see that? They did this. And I still to this day laugh and make fun. I'm like, hey, Zach. And he's like, shut the fuck up. But anyway, so I come home and I tell my mom about this birthday party. I was like, yeah, I invited them over for my birthday party. And she's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Oh,
She had no idea what I was talking about because I don't know why. I've never done this before or since, but I wanted to go see Batman Forever. I thought this was a thing. So I was like, Mom was like, okay, well, tell them they can come over at this, so you have their phone numbers? Yeah. What time did you tell them they're coming over? I kind of told her. She's like, okay, what'd you tell them we were going to do? Like have a pizza party or something? I said, well, I told them we were going to eat some pizza, then we were going to go see Batman Forever. She's like, honey, I don't even know if Batman Forever is playing. I was like, yeah, it came out. She's like, no, I don't think it's playing in Peru. So she gets the newspaper, or no, she calls, I think. And Batman Forever is not playing. There's some kind of movie, and then the other movie that's playing is Top Dog starring Chuck Norris.
oh no.
Which is a family comedy about Chuck Norris and a police officer dog partner. So we literally they came over We ate pizza. We literally went and saw fucking Top Dog because there's no Batman Forever. So it's like, sorry guys, Batman's not playing, but we're going to see a Chuck Norris movie because Chuck Norris is cool, you know. It's 1993, I think, or 1995, I mean. And so we watched fucking Top Dog, and it is awful. We leave the movie theater, and we get out to my mom's car, and my mom had left the car running and locked her keys in the car.
Oh no.
So it's her, these 3 young boys, actually 4, I think Zachary might have been with us. These young boys in her tiny car, locked out, so she had to call the police. They had to come and get her out of the car. All because I said that we were watching Batman Forever, and instead we ended up watching the Chuck Norris film, Top Dog. So I always think about Top Dog because of that.
Well, you know what that proves, don't you?
What's that?
You had a great mom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. Yeah. That she...
My mom would
have never went for that.
No. I had a great mom, too. I love my mom. That's not what I meant by that, but... Yeah, you know, the fact that she rolled with it says quite a lot. Dude, I remember...
Oh, she did the extra mile.
I had a birthday one time, and I invited, like, my entire class. And I'm pretty sure only 2 people showed up. It was a pizza party.
So you have a lot of leftovers?
Yeah, we had a lot of leftovers.
Derek.
I know you. All of it. That sad story you just told us, your phone going off again.
I even closed it out.
You're just a mess.
No,
Derek, that was so sad.
It is sad.
you know, it happens.
I don't
That's
really
so
remember. I had a few birthday parties, but they were like, I mean, my birthday is like January 2nd, so it's like there's always like a snowstorm, so like I never really feel like I had birthdays very often.
Dude.
Derek.
But yeah, that's yeah, I know how that is. I had a birthday party like at Pizza Hut probably like that weekend with my family and stuff like that. But the fact that my mom did go through the extra mile, you're right, Derek. The fact that she went the extra mile to do all these things. I even know she did lock her keys in the car and lock us out. That's besides the point. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fun memory I have. And that will do us today. Next week, we'll be watching End of Days with Arnold. I'll be back. Derek, Arnold's going to destroy your fucking phone here in a minute. Tell your brother to quit texting you.
It is him.
I know it is. He heard you talking about the Chuck Norris story. Sensed it. But stay tuned. We have some big, exciting news on the movie. We are in casting right now. We have an audition next week at the time of this recording. We have auditions all day from Saturday and Sunday. So we're just chugging along, doing what we got to do. You guys will be seeing the movie very, very soon. It's finishing color. Until then, you can follow us online at HiLaProductions.com. You can follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions, and you can follow us each on Twitter. Follow Derek at DDoggyMaster, Lydia at Lydia Spooky, and me at Racket. Be sure to comment down below on your favorite birthday memory, and what are your thoughts on Hellbound? You know, and the Chuck Norris oeuvre in general, I guess, if you were. But next week, Arnold is back when he fights the devil in End of Days, 1999. So stay tuned for that. Until then, for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.